Hello and welcome to Thursday, March the 4th, for another one of our Lenten meditations. The summer before I left for seminary, I was the youth advisor and sponsor for the high school youth of the First Presbyterian Church in Wichita, Kansas. My last responsibility in that role was to accompany them on a mission trip to Clallam Bay, Washington, on the western side of the state of Washington. The trip by van was very long. Time spent in narrow church corridors was vast. Close bonds were formed, and upon return tears were shed, phone numbers exchanged, and vows were made to be close forever. This is not uncommon. It's a natural occurrence, especially in camps and trips where students do not previously know one another. I call it the fellowship of the Bus and Bunk. Now, in my youth, I tended toward cynicism, and I looked upon this outflow of emotion with a skeptical eye. Surely such sentiment was temporary, bordering on artificial. It was felt in the moment, but it could never be sustained. And it wasn't. At least, not by the exacting standards that I had applied to it. We all grow busy. We move on with our lives. Such an intense sense of community cannot be maintained, and at the time I saw this as a failure. Fortunately, seminary had the ability to widen my eyes and open my heart a bit. As time went on, I reflected upon my own relationships severed by my decision to leave Kansas for California. I found a bit more grace. Rather than scoff at the superficiality of the bus and bunk, I came to understand that we should celebrate that it happened at all. It is not an insight to say that it is a tremendous challenge to maintain intense relationships over time. So many demands, so little time. Certainly the pandemic has exacerbated this problem, perhaps enhancing this sense that we don't appreciate these communal times when we have them. Theologian Paul Tillich speaks of this in one of his sermons entitled The New Being. His words capture splendidly not only the fellowship of the bus and bunk, but most of our sacred relationships. We do not want to convert you to us, not even the best of us. This would be of no avail. We want only to show you something that we have seen and tell you something that we have heard. That in the midst of the old creation, there is a new creation. And that this new creation is manifest in Jesus, who is called the Christ. And elsewhere he says, here and there in the world, now and again in ourselves, is a new creation. Here and there in the world and now and again in ourselves is a new creation. In a clattery church kitchen, on a sunset beach in western Washington, at a funeral or a wedding, there can be a new creation. We don't create these moments. These moments create, or shall we say, recreate us as we feel the splendor of shared humanity. King Arthur's vision of Camelot was glorious, but it did not last. As the story begins, we are presented with the siege. King Arthur and his army, compelled to attack his best friend Lancelot and his queen, Guinevere, holed up in a castle. A page boy wanders by, wanting to be part of the fight, and King Arthur will not allow it, but upon second thought gives the page boy a task. Remember, he says, and tell the story. Don't let it be forgot that once there was a spot for happily ever aftering that was Camelot. Here and there in the world and now and again in ourselves is a new creation. That is what we wish to tell you. In the midst of the old creation, there is a new creation, which is manifest in Jesus, who we call the Christ.